Hello everyone, right, we're live on Twitch and YouTube, and we're just waiting for Douche to join, who's going to be our mic controller, basically. If you are watching on YouTube or Twitch, trying a few new things with the interface, so just let me know in the chat, or let one of our mods know if there's any issues. Don't worry about things like tips or donations or whatever that says at the bottom, but yeah, hopefully it all works out well. Where is our mysterious Douche Master? That's the real question.
That is a very good question.
He has no perms to speak, apparently. Helpful. Good. There you go.
There we go. There we go.
It's going smooth. It's going fine.
Happy to see everyone here at the Q&A. If you guys can start with saying who you guys are.
Yeah, sure. So I'm BanTech. I'm Innovation Director, so I do a lot of the coordination of development and the development team. I currently have a bit of a cold coming on, so if I cough, I apologise in advance.
And I'm Charlie. I'm the Managing Director for SCR, so I manage more of what it is we're going to do, some of the physical scenery style stuff, and anything that BanTech and the developers don't do, basically.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Douche, Community Director at SCR. I will be the host for tonight. We'll ask all the questions you guys have. And meanwhile, I'm also directing everything community related, making sure that everyone is enjoying the time at SCR, supporting the other directors a little bit. So trying to be useful, as we would say. So if you do have a question, feel free to ask them. There is a special thread opened in hashtag Stepford on Discord. You can also ask your questions on Twitch or on YouTube, or you can use the hashtag SCR Live on social media, and then we will try to pick up your question. You can imagine that we will have a lot of questions today, so sorry in advance if we can't answer yours, but we will try to answer as much as possible. So we're gonna start at the top of the with the first question for tonight, and the first question Charlie wants to say something about: can dispatchers pick platforms in the new 1.8?
Well, I think, to be honest, it's probably a more technical question. So at the moment, it's not planned for 1.8, but BanTech, maybe I'll tell a bit more there about our thoughts on that one.
Sorry, I was just helping some audio for everyone on the stream because it was being a bit loud.
The question was, can dispatchers pick platforms in 1.8?
Yes, that was it. So they can't pick platforms in 1.8. It's kind of similar to how it is currently. It is something that we want to do, but basically from my side of things on 1.8, I've focused very much on kind of performance and stuff in this update, and getting things through for kind of signaler training and stuff. So there's not been much of the extra like fancy niceties done necessarily in this update as far as programs concerned, but there are lots of other really cool stuff that we've done that should make it way easier to play on mobile, way easier to play on your computer, and should help with traffic and things like that as well. So lots of good stuff, unfortunately not that one.
Also, for everyone who's wondering what type of questions we are answering tonight, we will answer all the questions related to SCR version 1.8 and everything related to it. There is no release date yet, so please be aware that questions about the release date will not be answered as there is no release date yet. The next question is about pantographs, which we see a lot in the game, but will they ever have a functional use?
Yeah, so I'll also answer that one, I suppose. Pantographs definitely will. We have kind of been putting stuff in place. You might see more and more wires around the map and things like that. That's for a good reason. We will eventually make them happen. What we don't want is obviously to have pantographs working when there's still sections without wires, so that's one of the things. And the other thing is it's obviously just a nice cosmetic thing that will tie in nicely when we do some new controls that we've had on the roadmap as well, the advanced controls. Again, those aren't in this particular update, as it's been more kind of performance and stuff focused rather than those nice features.
The next question asked is, will there be automatic level crossings in 1.8 or somewhere around there?
Just 1 second. Sorry, I've just got to mute myself for a second. I'll be right back. But if Charlie can answer that one for the moment.
Yes. So they won't be in 1.8, but we do plan to have them. It's a relatively simple-ish thing to introduce, we hope. It's more just potentially... at the moment, we want to get these updates out as fast as we can, and things like automatic level crossings don't add anything to the gameplay experience. They're really nice to have, but they don't make an improvement to actually driving around or doing any of the functions. So we've been trying to prioritize things that actually improve the gameplay experience for you. So we absolutely do want to have them there, but they're quite a way down our priorities list. So they will happen, but not in 1.8, and it won't necessarily be close after. But we definitely intend to introduce them. But if we were to do them now, it would just mean we had to push something more important back, which we think you'd probably like more. So yes, but no, I guess is the weird way to answer that.
Sorry about that. I had all the tech is just going wrong today. You know that vacuum cleaner, Charlie? It turned itself on and started doing all sorts downstairs.
We should all ban tech.
Exactly. It's where all the problems come from. But I'm assuming that you answered that perfectly well.
Thank you. I hope I did.
Next question I have for you is about Airlink and Express. Is it done? Is it finished? Is it ready?
So Airlink and Express, in terms of where they're going to go, is finished. Yes. So we want to get to a point, and I imagine we'll get onto it later, where the map is in a finished state. So we've been kind of expanding the map constantly since we started the game in 2017. So we're coming up on nearly 4 years now where we've kind of been constantly expanding the map, and we need to get it to a point where we stop. Not because we don't want to work on the game anymore, but because some of the things we want to do need the map to be finished. So at the moment, Airlink and Express, and I say at the moment, but we have no plans to expand them further. There are upgrades to areas that they go through, that again we'll probably come on to. But we want to get to a point where we can give you a finished map. And we're working towards, in the next few updates, getting all of that finished off so that we have a map that is final, and then we can focus more on improving what we've got already. And equally, Roblox can't expand forever. Roblox has its limitations, and some people are already experiencing, performance issues depending on how fast their computers are. So we need to get to a point where we stop expanding and then improve what we've got already. So Airlink and Express are finished, and Connect is almost there. There's a few little tweaks, but in terms of there's no planned expansions beyond 1.8, except where the network already goes. And obviously there's some slight tweaks still to Waterline, but we want to get to a point where over the next few updates we finish expanding completely.
Thank you. The next question is about something which was seen in the prototyping center. And the question is, will we get a new rail design like it was in the prototyping center?
A new rail design, was that?
Yes.
Yes, you will do. Not in 1.8 though. So there's a few other bits and pieces that we've been doing. Obviously some expansions and things like that. We've not had a chance to swap out all the rails or all of the ballast yet, because that's a huge job basically. The thing with parts is you can scale them to be as long or as short as you like. When it comes to doing all of that in mesh, you kind of have to stick to some fixed sizes, and so we have to kind of tweak all sorts of stuff around the map when we do that replacement, particularly the old sections that we've not touched for a while. So that also isn't in 1.8, but it's definitely one of the things that we want to do in the future, which is why we stuck it in the prototyping center. And we'll continue to update that prototyping center with stuff that we are planning to do in the future, because some things in there are in the game. In 1.8, for example, the seating thing, slightly different to what you've seen in the prototyping. We've responded to some feedback, but basically pressing a button to jump to a seat rather than accidentally getting caught on one as you walk past a train, that's going to be in 1.8. So you will see stuff from the prototyping center filter through, just not everything all at once.
Another question I got is about the length of the trains and from the platforms. Will they be any longer in the future?
So there's a few plans we have on this, but nothing is completely concrete yet. So a lot of the stations that we have, particularly on Connect, are quite tight. So you'll know from our sneak peeks that we've recently upgraded the Class 730, which is the longest train on Connect, not just in terms of carriages, but physically it's the longest. And I've had to do some slight, as Mr. The Hazard 9 would call it, bodging with some of the platforms to make them a little bit longer, because the train does only just fit. So we need to think about that before we do any extensions. But we have a few ideas for certain trains that might have more carriages but are still quite short in terms of the physical length of the carriage, which you'll find out more about hopefully in the near future. But we haven't ruled out longer trains, but I think what we'd like to do is get as many trains as we can meshed, because they will perform a lot better. Once we've got more better performing trains, we can then start to go, okay, well, could we have a slightly longer train? We've designed platforms for Airlink, for example, to be able to accommodate longer trains if we want to do it in the future at most stations. So there's no concrete plans, but we haven't ruled it out, and I would quite like to do some trialing of some longer trains with the dev team to see how well they would work. If they don't, then we don't want to risk your performance, so that may not happen, but we're going to be trying it. But it will still be a little way yet. We want to get a good few more trains converted into mesh before we even attempt that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Not straight away.
We want to kind of see the impact of those changes first of all. If we change too many kind of variables at once, like make the trains better but then make them longer at the same time, it's quite hard to gauge how that's affected kind of mobile crash rates and things like that. So kind of all the good stuff first of all the good improvements, and then once we've kind of seen how much we've improved by, we can then do them tests that Charlie's on about in terms of longer trains.
A question I get a lot, and I'm going to make it one question. Will there be any revamps to any of the stations or any of the trains? Will there be new mesh trains? And even maybe a bit more important, is there anything you can share to us with us about 1.8 and the plans that we haven't seen in sneak peeks yet?
So in terms of stations, there's still quite a few you've not seen yet. So we've done a lot in 1.8. I think it's one of, if not the biggest, like stations improvement update, as well as other things, as we'll talk about, that we've done. One of the advantages we've had, and this is just the way that me and BanTech and the developers work, is that while BanTech's doing all of the system stuff behind the scenes, it gives me the opportunity to go and just have a go at doing a station. So you may feel like we don't update an entire line in one go. Sometimes we do, and you'll see more to come on that in this update as well. But usually we pick a random station that I feel like needs a bit of love. So a perfect example of this, and if it's probably the most obvious sneak peek of them all, was Wester Coast. So Wester Coast station got a upgrade in this, and will be getting an update in 1.8. It's not a massive update. We have a kind of way of working that me and the Hazard 9 use, especially when he's helping with development, which is while BanTech's working on things like signal setup and stuff like that, we don't want to mess with the tracks because it makes things complicated. So we design a station update that we can almost drop onto the station. So we don't physically touch the tracks. We almost don't touch the platforms, but we just upgrade what's on the station. And we've done that in a few places. And I hope you'll agree from the sneak peek and from what you see when you see it. Wester Coast is a great example of we only added a building to the platform and did some slight kind of scenery works, and it looks completely different. And I think it looks so much nicer to drive through and to look at as a passenger. So there's stuff like that where we've done small updates, and you've kind of seen hints as well in the sneak peeks to some quite big updates to stations as well. So I should have counted before we came on the Q&A, but I don't want to reveal too much. But we have not finished showing you everything when it comes to stations, scenery improvements. There's still quite a few things that you have not yet seen, and especially some things that we've not shown you that I'm really excited about and that I think look really nice, and that while we've been driving around testing, think make a huge improvement. So there's a lot coming in this update. I think we've already shown you quite a lot, but we've still got loads more to show you, and some stuff that you'll see before the update and some stuff that you'll see when you get to play it for the first time. So lots coming in 1.8. So no, we have not finished showing you everything yet. Still lots to come.
I suppose also all of my stuff pretty much you don't see in sneak peeks. It's not necessarily glamorous or whatever, but it is stuff that is coming that you've not seen that we've been working on. So the trains, the movement system, that's going to be different. There's obviously the new section-based signaling that you might have heard about, and the new kind of junction platform signal communication kind of overhaul. Some changes to kind of like announcement speakers, platform occupancy, and then some performance stuff like streaming enabled and things like that, and changes to the way that we preload stuff. So there's lots of stuff that we've been working on. Not all of it's immediately obvious when you join, but if you're one of those that were struggling with like poor devices and stuff, hopefully you'll notice the differences there as well on my side of things.
I'm really happy to see that more and more people are joining this Q&A session. So welcome everyone who just joined us. We are currently busy with a Q&A session about the new SCR 1.8 version. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the special thread in the Discord Q&A. You can also use the YouTube or the Twitch chat, or you can use hashtag SCR Live on our socials. Again, we cannot answer all the questions because we get so many of them. We will try to pick out the best ones and answer them. So thank you for that. So please keep sending in your questions. And the next question I got is about AI control trains. Will we see them? And if yes, in the near future?
So AI control trains are an interesting one. So no, in terms of physical trains, mostly because if you've ever played in a full server, it's chaotic enough without AIs getting in the way, and also they just cause us problems. And part of the kind of the smoothness of the trains that we do is because a lot of it happens on your computer. If you ask the server to try and make a bunch of AI trains move smoothly, that doesn't work too well. So no for physical trains, but obviously some of you who might be asking this know about Signaler Training 2.0 and kind of our vision for that in terms of you being able to manage traffic that isn't actually there without needing people to drive trains. And so not necessarily AI trains, but like virtual trains is something that we want to do for Signaler Training 2.0, and that's nearly there. It's not in 1.8. But 1.8 lays a lot of the groundwork such that it'll definitely like be in place for the next big update that we do, and hopefully not too far away, as I've been promising the signalling department that it'll be out for a long time. But I'll probably cover that as well a little bit more in terms of the groundwork that we've done to enable that to happen when an appropriate question comes up for me to whip out my PowerPoint. But yeah, so not AI physical trains, but AI virtual trains, yes. But only in training.
Thank you. The next question I got is about a back to depot mechanic. As you guys know, we can currently try finish a route and then we have to continue it or end it. But will we ever get a mechanic where we can go back to the closest depot after we complete the route?
So this is something that I think BanTech's terrified for because I keep doing work towards it. But yes, that's planned. I don't know when. But you will notice more and more with the depots that we do upgrades to that we've started to try and build bits of tracking that will allow you to run into them as well as out of them. Still a lot of work to be done about deciding exactly how that's going to work. So, for example, there will be some depots where it's just not physically possible to get back into them because of the way we've built them. So, for example, what's a good one? It's a difficult depot to get back into. North Shore Depot is probably a good example. It's off to the side of one track of a 4-track section, and it's very much facing one way, which means it would be very difficult without doing some weird and wonderful reversing maneuvers or crossing all 4 tracks to get into. And the kind of rule that we kind of have with this is it's supposed to be there just to kind of help you finish off your route. It's not, we don't want it to disrupt anything. So there will be some depots that's not going to be possible for, so it won't always be the nearest depot. But we plan on, for most routes, if not all, looking at ways to have a way to go back to a depot. So 1.8, and we don't know yet how far. It'll form part of our plans. You may have seen on the old SCR roadmaps of what we're looking at what was ECS, empty coaching stock moving. So we've got plans of how we'd like to be able to get trains to move around between the end of 2 routes or from the end of a route to a depot. So there's lots of ideas and stuff we have with that. We just need to work out how it'll work. So not sure when, but it's coming.
It's kind of the physical challenges of fitting it in for depots, and also kind of the technical challenges in terms of the signalling and stuff. But I mean, you'll have seen it on our public roadmap. It's on the kind of low priority column. So it's something that we would like, but it's not high priority. So as Charlie says, it's kind of as we're doing these upgrades and things, as we're rolling through, we're just making the changes to like enable it to be easier in the future to add that. But we've not worked out all the fine details just yet. Also, my internet dropped out very, very briefly while Charlie was talking, so apologies on the streams if anyone just missed a bit of what he said.
Another question I get is about the guard panel. There are plans for a physical guard panel. Would this mean that the current guard panel, so the GUI Guard Panel, will be removed?
So this one's kind of a bit of an operational question, I guess, in that I'll double check that this is what the guard managers and stuff want. But I worked hard on that GUI panel, so I think we'd probably have it more as an option. I don't think either one is necessarily bad. I think for training, they'd probably make you use the physical one just to make sure that you stand in the right places and stuff and go back to the panel. But I see no reason why, for convenience, you couldn't have the GUI one if you didn't mind sacrificing a bit of the realism. And we'll still have the kind of the keybinds and stuff like that available. So I would say probably it's still going to be somewhere in there and still going to be possible. But I'll just double check with the guard managers that they're happy for people to do that and that it's not going to cause any problems.
Another question I get is about the announcements. We received beautiful new announcements a long time ago, actually, already. The time flies. But we still have the old station announcements. Are there any plans on changing them?
So there is a lot of change coming to announcements in 1.8 that I'm really looking forward to giving some either sneak peeks to, or you'll get to see before I get a chance to when we release it. But we know that station announcements were quite old, so we have definitely got some surprises with station announcements, as well as a few other things that we've been working on. Again, much to BanTech's despair when I keep going and getting more stuff for us to add to the game. But we were really keen, as with the on-train announcements that we launched a while ago, that we went out and we looked for actual voice artists who do this on the railway in the UK, so that we could create an even more authentic experience. And we've kept that in mind. So hopefully for those avid train geeks out there, you'll be able to tell what it is we've done and where we've gone. But yeah, I won't say more than that, but there will be some nice surprises in 1.8 relating to announcements.
Another question I get is about Upper Staploe. People think it's kind of sad that not a lot of routes stop at Upper Staploe. Are there any plans on changing that?
Yes. So as part of this update, I did a full review of all of the stopping patterns for Connect routes particularly. there were some that just didn't feel quite right. And we've also been looking at head codes because we know there's quite a lot of comments about certain trains get 9 head codes when they shouldn't have them because they get over prioritized so there's a few things we've done there. So we've done a full review of all connect routes and done a few changes to the stopping patterns. So a few routes now skip places that they didn't, and some stations that never used to get skipped before by any routes now get a few skip in them, which is quite nice for a bit of variety. And stations like Upper Staploe, I believe, gets at least 1 or 2 more services. I'm not sure exactly how many, but Rocket Parade is another one that has quite a lot of trains that skip it in the current version of the game. That gets quite a lot more services in the update as well. So we've changed quite a bit on the stopping patterns. Yeah.
The next question is asked especially for BanTech. So will you ever sort a signaling system so trains don't hold each other up when the line is clear?
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is the time. This is time to bring out the presentation. Apologies if you're watching on the stage, by the way. You won't be able to see this. So you might want to just open up either YouTube or Twitch and just mute it for this. But essentially, yes. So we've done our new section-based signaling system in this current update, and I'll just kind of explain why. There's kind of the holding up trains is one of the main ones. So just imagine that this is kind of some track and the arrows are kind of pointing as to where trains could go. And you've got these kind of signals by the 3 coloured dots. In the current system, if you kind of focus on this signal down here, and we had a train coming in that's like a blue colour to signalise that train, it could go straight. It could just, it might not be stopping at these bay platforms. It could just go straight on. It could stop at the first bay platform. It could stop at the second bay platform. And basically, the signaling system runs on the server, and right now, in the live game, the junctions happen on your computer. So the signaling system has no idea which one of these possibilities is going to happen. As far as it's concerned, all 3 of them are equally likely. And so it has to make sure that all traffic is stopped when the blue one passes its signal to make sure that that's okay to happen. So for example, if we stuck a pink train in the middle here and this bay platform's occupied, there's now only 2 options that the blue can do, but one of them conflicts with the pink train. The other option doesn't. The other option is just to go straight on. But like I say, the signaling system has no idea which one of these is going to happen. So if the blue train goes through the signal first, the pink one has to stop. Even if the blue one's going straight, the pink one has to stop until we know that it's clear. So in that situation, if the blue one was going straight, it would have to hit this blue block. Once it hits there, then we know we're completely clear of the junction. The pink one can go, but it's unnecessarily been held up in that situation. Likewise, the other way around, if the pink one goes first, the blue one can't be allowed to pass its signal until the pink one's got to this point, this pink block here. Because again, it won't be able to know whether or not they're going to conflict or not. So that's the problem. That's why you get held up. Some junctions are even more complex than this, and so you can be held up for a really long time. And depending on how kind of traffic goes, you just might be unlucky and you might be able to wait for like 3 or 4 different trains from different directions first. And that's basically just because this blue one to come through here needs to kind of reserve all of this bit of track that I've highlighted in blue. If it doesn't have all of this track available to it, then it can't be allowed past the signal at the moment. But in the new system that we've done, the new section-based signaling system, we've split the map up into sections. So it looks a bit daunting at first, but all these yellow markers are kind of the start and end of sections. So you might have a section here that's just up until this little fork. You might have another section that's kind of this fork bit. So crossovers are quite complicated. But what this allows us to do is you can kind of imagine that if someone was going straight along this line, they would only occupy the sections on this lower half of the crossover, and then someone on the line above is only occupying the ones above. So they could both go at the same time. So if we had the blue train going into one of the bay platforms, the signaling system now knows where it's going at each of these junctions. I've now coloured these markers in to kind of show you that the signaling system knows where it's going, and it only needs to reserve that small area that gets it to where it was. So if you compare to this big blue area, we're now only reserving this tiny little bit of yellow. And that's really, really useful because it opens up other tracks for other trains to be able to do stuff. So if we bring back the example of the blue and the pink train where the pink's occupying this bay platform, if we know in advance of the blue even reaching the signal that it's going straight and that's been confirmed to us due to its route and due to its destination, then we can already kind of reserve those paths for it, and we can make sure that the pink one doesn't conflict with it. And if they don't, they can both go at the same time. They don't need to wait for each other because the sections that they're kind of reserving don't overlap at all. So that's completely new to like what we've done this time. It's very, very different. It's been a long time of setting up all of these because obviously what would normally just be some signals and kind of a quick marker to say where the end of that block is, now you can see this has been split up into loads more sections. So it's taken us a lot of time, but we finally got there. We finally finished it for 1.8, and now the signals, the platforms, and the junctions can all communicate. It has an obvious benefit of what you asked in terms of being able to not hold up people unnecessarily, but it also has other benefits. So the signaler training 2.0 that we discussed earlier with virtual trains, that we can do here. We couldn't before because the server wouldn't know where a given train would go, whereas now all that information is in one place. If you create a virtual train that has a route that goes to Stepford Central, we know in advance all of the junctions that are required and all of the signals that need to be green for that train to get there. So that's really, really cool, and that's coming soon. It also gives us a base for like platform predictions and changes, another thing that's been on our roadmap for ages. So we can predict them earlier, we can allocate them earlier because we know which junctions you're going to take and therefore which platform you're going to end up at before you even pass the signal. It also lets us potentially show signalers a bit more information, which is really cool so they can see the path that the train's going to take through complex junctions, which at the moment they're a little bit blind to. And finally, it allows us to kind of pre-allocate those sections in advance. So currently in 1.8, the version that we've got, you still will get surprise danger signals. Nowhere near as much as you do in the current one, but if those paths do still conflict, it is a race of who gets to the signal first. There shouldn't be any issues of spad traps or anything like that, but there's still some surprise dangers. What we can do though, and this lays the groundwork for it, is with a bit more time and a bit more coding, we can make that way smarter and kind of use the schedule and time and the position of the trains to know who's going to get to their signal first and then hold the other train based on some sort of priority algorithm as to which one should go through. So you should never kind of be coming towards a green signal and then it's snapped to red before you've got through it. So that's something that we're still working on, but we're kind of halfway there with the current system. So that's why we've made all the changes we have. Hopefully you see it. I know the managers have been testing it out and they've found that it's way better for traffic in terms of there are a lot of situations where you'd be held that you aren't anymore. So particularly around, Benton, Stepford Central, those kind of areas where there's a lot of junctions that we need to protect. Because we already know which ones you're going to take, we can make sure that you get a nice route that avoids conflict. And we can even make kind of passing tracks within the same section to allow you both to go through the same section at the same time and stuff like that. So really cool stuff, and hopefully it helps a lot with traffic.
I think a perfect example that we've seen while we've been testing it as well is in places like Stepford Central, where 2 tracks go into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6 platforms. At the moment, you can only have 1 train going in or out at once. It now means that, not always, depends which platform is which, but we can often get 1 train in and 1 train out at the same time. And at some bigger stations, it means we can just manage traffic way better. So we can, at the moment, when you've got a complex junction like Airport Central, which looks quite similar to the one on screen actually, and Stepford Central is another example, Stepford Victoria is another example. There's loads of junctions where if any train enters the area, the whole thing stops, which means if you've got a really busy day at Central as a signaller, you're really limited on what you can do because you've got to basically let 1 train out at a time and you've got to pick whether to let 1 in or 1 out. Whereas now you'll be able to let 1 train out and 1 train in at the same time in a lot of cases, or more depending on the tracks. So it definitely makes it a lot more tidy and a lot more real, because you can do basically what would really be allowed wherever something's possible it is. So it definitely is a huge improvement.
Thank you both for showing us this beautiful presentation, especially BanTech, of course, who had to say a lot there. Charlie and especially BanTech can both catch some breath right now and can prepare for the next questions. I would like to repeat that we are trying to answer as much questions as possible, although we can't answer everything, of course. Ask your questions in the special thread in the Discord. Use the socials with hashtag SCR Live, or ask them in the YouTube or Twitch chat. And we will try to answer as much as possible. And again, I also want to remember everyone that there is currently no release date for SCR 1.8 yet. So any question regarding that will not be answered, as we just don't have any information about that yet. We hope to show it to you all as soon as possible, but right now there is no release date yet. That being said, we can continue with the next question, which is about the airport zone. More and more stations are getting a revamp, but will we see something soon in the airport zone of the game?
So nothing in 1.8. So I'd say the airport zone is the one last big area that needs a bit of an upgrade. And you'll see when you see 1.8 that actually it's probably the last area really that we've not given a lot of love to. But yes, so the airport is my next big project after 1.8. So that doesn't mean, it'll be a week or two after. There'll be a bit of a gap between when we do 1.8 and when we can push the next big change. But the airport zone entirely, so every station in the airport zone, will be getting a bit of a refresh for a number of reasons. One, I just don't like some of those stations. Airport Parkway particularly is the same as it was, pretty much when it was introduced. It's only had one update, and that was probably in 2018, so it's quite a long time ago that was updated. But also, from a more physical problem, we're putting overhead wires up on the entire network, bar a few slight sections that we're keeping diesel only, as you'll see. But we can't physically get the wires in the tunnels. The roofs are too low. So the whole tunnel section for the terminals needs completely redoing anyway, because I can't actually physically get the wires in. The pantograph would hit the roof, which would not be good. So that needs redoing regardless. And I've got some ideas for what I'd like to do. Airport Central Station in itself is nice-ish, but I mean its entrance is just a big sign that says airport. So it needs a bit of work, and the terminal stations don't even have entrances. So, it will be getting a redo. I don't know how long it will take or when you'll see it, but it's my next big project for complete overhauls. So we'll be starting that soon after 1.8 is released. So you'll get to see that hopefully in the not so far future.
A question I got for BanTech is about the train losing bug. I will call it like that. Will it be fixed, or are you able to fix it actually in 1.8?
Yeah, so I know a few of you had some issues with data saves not working. I'm not quite sure why, but essentially I've been planning to redo the whole data system anyway in terms of what gets saved and how it saves behind the scenes. And so essentially I'm working on that alongside this stuff, and obviously it's a massive priority to not let people lose stuff that they've bought. I would suggest that if you have lost something that you've bought and have any way of like showing it, or if you've bought Robux to help buy things, definitely create a ticket and send it up, and I will get to it as soon as possible. Because we don't want you to have to like buy things that you've already bought. That's not a good idea, and it kind of makes it more difficult to find the problem if you have already bought it, to then refund stuff back to you. So if you tell me when it first goes missing, and just be patient for me to get around to that ticket, then I'll sort that. But yeah, we're going to redo the whole kind of system anyway to save some costs on our side and to save a bit of time that it takes to load all the data. So hopefully there'll be lots of improvements there coming soon. They'll probably be separate to 1.8, as in it won't necessarily be synchronous with game updates. And that's just because most of the issues and stuff that happens is not within Roblox. So I'll be working on that anyway and let people know when that's fixed, but it won't align with necessarily a 1.8.0 or a 1.8.1. It'll kind of just happen in the middle somewhere. But yeah, that will be fixed as a priority.
We got a really short question, and Charlie immediately said, okay, I want to tell something about it. So I hope you're ready for it, Charlie, because it's one really simple question. James Street?
That's the question, is it?
That's the question.
That's the question. So you will all remember a while ago that we did a poll, a survey, a question for you all to answer, which gave you two options. Was we carried on with the planned Waterline extension, which is one stop beyond James Street to an undisclosed location, or we did something different on Connect with a one-stop extension. And there was a very strong vote, which was Waterline. So some of you were then surprised to see a station that you didn't recognise appear on Connect, and we've seen quite a few comments saying, "Oh well, is this instead of the Waterline extension, and why have you not listened to us?" Well, just to reassure you, the change that we've made, which I'm sure will come up in a moment anyway, to Connect, which was sneak peek to Argo, is not instead of the Waterline extension. It is something completely different. I had to think about it, and we were doing a lot of work in the area, and it was a simple enough thing to add as a nice little extra bonus for 1.8. But it is not instead of the Waterline extension. The Waterline extension, one stop beyond James Street, is still going to happen. It will not be in 1.8. However, in answer adding to the previous question, as part of the airport area upgrade, that includes an upgrade of Airport West and James Street, which then will bring the extension at the same time. So the next major scenery update after 1.8 will be an airport area overhaul, and it will include the James Street extension. So the extra extension that you've seen is a bonus. It's not instead of. So we did listen, and we realised people liked the idea of both. So we found a way to give you both. So hopefully that reassures some of you who are really looking forward to the Waterline extension. That is still going to happen.
Thank you, Charlie. The next question I actually receive a lot everywhere, and it's kind of more of a very kind threat to us than a question right now. It's actually fix the timetable.
Again, I love the short and sweet.
Nice. I mean, I'll take this one if you want. So, some of you might have spotted Original Arcus. He helps us do some cool stuff with some web development and things. And one of the things that we've been working on behind the scenes is a kind of processing engine that will take data from what's happening in the game and use it for a bunch of stuff, some cool stuff that you guys will get to use as well. But on our side of things, we'll be able to see how long it actually takes you guys to get to different stations on different routes, in the context of how much traffic there is as well. And we're kind of building that system now. It takes quite a lot of time to fine-tune that, to make sure that rubbish data is thrown out and good data is kept and stuff like that. And essentially we're going to build a model of kind of for a particular amount of traffic on particular lines and routes, and where those trains are, how that affects the timing for your own route and your own schedule. And so we've not really touched them much other than some minor manual tweaks at the moment, because we're just kind of waiting for us to finish that feedback loop. And so for the first bunch, we've not released it yet, by the way. We'll let you know when that happens, so you know when all of your kind of training data is being sent off. Once we've got enough data and are happy with the model, I'll then kind of hook it back into the game, and it will tell the game how long to give you between each station. So it'll be a lot more kind of accurate, it'll be a lot better, a lot more contextual, so that if you're in a VIP server by yourself, you're not stood around waiting for ages. Likewise, if you're in a super busy server where everyone's on one line because they're trying out a new train, you're also not incredibly behind to the point where it despawns you for being too late. So we're trying to find like a nice balance in there, And I think the best way to do that is to do it dynamically. So that's one of the many things we've been working on with Original Arcus. You'll see a bunch more in the future, but it's just takes time to develop that. So yes, but not quite yet.
I hope people are satisfied with the answer. Otherwise, we will have a problem soon. Not really, of course, but everyone is nice to us. But another question I got is a question about where is it? I accidentally clicked on a different screen, and now all the questions are gone. Oops. Yeah, there we go. You were talking about the timetables, and another question we got a little bit about that. Are there any plans about delays or adding a delay or and anything like that? Technical difficulties, something like that.
So feel like there's a few parts to this question. So the first one is something you will see straight away in 1.8, which you may have seen on the roadmap referred to as delay propagation, and probably wondered what on earth that was, because I did when BanTech wrote that for the first time. But delay propagation is basically if you arrive at your destination 5 minutes late, when you change directions, you keep some of that delay. So, as in reality, trains don't have that long to turn around at destinations. So we have basically gone and looked at that and gone, okay, when a train gets to its destination, when it turns around, it will keep some of its delay, just to keep with the idea of realism. And the thing is, you don't lose any performance for being late. So while sometimes it might be frustrating that you're late, you don't lose any points. You don't get, don't go on your permanent driving record that you're a bad driver. But actually being delayed is a good thing for some of the future stuff we want to do, because it adds more to the experience. So for example, with the station announcements, we're going to be looking at introducing announcements for when trains are delayed. They're going to have to be quite delayed, otherwise you'll be hearing announcements non-stop. But we want that to work and the screens to be more accurate in terms of showing delays and things like that. And so it adds a bit more realism. I mean, shouldn't say it really working for the UK Railway, but it wouldn't be a real simulation of a UK Railway if a lot of it wasn't late. So we've built that in so that actually we can have more realistic delays attached, and equally disruptive events in the future. So we talked, BanTech mentioned earlier, but we want to have working pantographs in the future. Well, disruptive events like, your pantograph drops without you expecting it and the train comes to a stop and you just have to restart it again and stuff like that. And that might add a couple of minutes to your delay. So things like that. And there'll be loads more that we'll reveal more on when we get to that point in the future, when we can do more disruptive events. But yeah, so delays is something that I want to put a lot of time and thought into. And again, that's why we want to get the map finished, is so we can then get it done and then we can really focus on how we're going to do that and build in disruptive events. But you'll see delay propagation already in 1.8. And then once we can get a bit more time to start looking at how platforms are predicted and things like that, we can do a bit more enhancement on the station announcements, which will start to announce notable delays, like beyond 5 minutes, or if everyone's being delayed by 5 minutes, it might be beyond 10 minutes, but there's lots of stuff still to do on that. So there's lots to come with delays, and to make it a lot more realistic for, we've always said SCR is not a train driving simulator. There are loads of games that are train driving simulators, and we offer that, obviously, but we're about simulating the railway experience as a whole, which is why we have dispatchers, it's why we have signallers, it's why we have guards, so that if you are a passenger, you get the feeling of being on a railway. So you get staff walking around doing things, you get disruption, you get delays. That's our goal. So that is our unique, what SCR has that's quite unique, is simulating the whole experience. So that's where I really like putting our focus. So you'll see lots to come on that.
Another question I got is more of a opinion question for both of you. What is like the question actually says a big thing, but what is like a thing you really still want to see in the game? Like, for example, I'm still waiting for my personal Dooch statue somewhere in the game, but that will be a dream that will never happen probably. But what is something that you both still want to add and can't wait for to actually be able to add it?
Mr. Tech, do you want to answer that?
I mean, to be honest, the Signaler Training 2.0 is one of the ones that's been kind of a long time coming. I think that would be really, really good because there's a lot of people who want to be a signaler, but just that, it's logistically challenging to do it right now with the way that it currently is set up. So that is one of the ones. I mean, advanced controls, to be honest, for me, just because it's quite fun. It'll be better for kind of a bit more accurate physics. It still won't be perfect, obviously, because of the kind of scale of the game and things. But having throttle and brake disconnected from one another, maybe having to start the engine, having to put up your pantograph, whatever. And as Charlie says, maybe a pantograph falls and the train effectively acts like you've taken away the throttle and kind of is rolling, and you need to put that pantograph back on, or it applies the brakes and what have you, all that sort of stuff. So I think advanced controls and all the stuff that's currently in progress.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think for me, everything I just said in the previous answer about disruptive events, delays, announcements that match, all of that, creating that overall experience. That's where that's the thing I'm probably most looking forward to and most want to see in the game. So there's lots of cool stuff that we've got planned. But yeah, I think there's all of the stuff that we talked about in the previous answer is what I'm most looking forward to.
The next question, guys, about some scenery. And also a really short question, but the question says what he or she wants to know. Will we get rid of the ugly bushes?
Yes. So you should notice that on some of the newer sections we have a nicer bush mesh compared to the older ones that were all weird and wonderful forms of green. I have slowly but surely, as I update parts of the map, been replacing those. It's quite painful because there's hundreds of the damn things. I got carried away, clearly. So I think that on the section between Hampton, Hargate, and Leighton, I think there's still quite a lot there. That's probably my next big area to try and wipe them out on. But a lot of them have been removed in this update because we've been upgrading lots of old places that had them. So there's still quite a few left, but we are phasing them out.
Another question I got is, I think it's one for BanTech, but maybe you know a bit about it, Charlie. Is about the new signaling system. Let's call it that. If signaling will be able to predict platforms, will this also be going to work on the boards and the platform boards in the stations, so dispatchers can actually see where a train will arrive?
Everything that's displayed on the station, on the boards that are there, is kind of the best knowledge that we have at that moment in time. So already with the new system, the new section-based system that I talked about, platforms are also considered sections. And so when you pass the signal that kind of covers it, so I mean for people on the stream, I'll just hop back to the presentation, but when it knows that you're going to go to one of the platforms, essentially before we'd have to wait until you pass the last junction before that platform before knowing that you were going to go to it. Now we know before you even hit the signal necessarily, but that's just a prediction, but it's confirmed when you pass the signal, it knows where you're going. And that's the point where it now allocates the platform. So you'll notice a massive change when it comes to things like Stepford Central and stations with a lot of junctions and a lot of platform options. It will allocate that much earlier than it does currently and make the announcements and all of that. But we're going to kind of expand the prediction system to show predictive stuff as well. So right now it doesn't show predictions, it only shows actual allocations, but those allocations happen earlier. But soon we're going to expand it to do proper predictions that are fairly certain. Ones that are still quite up in the air, it won't necessarily show just because it's not very helpful if something changes like 10 times before the train arrives. But maybe when you're like less than one station away and we roughly know the order that the trains are going to arrive in, that's kind of included in that smart pre-allocation of sections, prediction of platforms stuff that I talked about kind of at the end of that little mini presentation. So it's kind of in the works. You'll see it improve incrementally over each update, starting with this one.
With that question, I would like to announce for now that we are no longer accepting new questions. So that means that we will work through a couple more questions as we are running a bit out of time. So thank you everyone for asking your questions. We will answer a couple more, and then we unfortunately have to end the Q&A session already. But first, a couple more questions before we finish. And another question I received, will there be feather indicators on signals?
Not in 1.8, but soon, essentially.
Yeah, it's made possible thanks to the very nice presentation BanTech gave.
Exactly. It needed that to know in advance where you were going to go, because obviously you can't tell you on a feather where you're going if we don't know. So it's now possible. It's just my goal for 1.8.0 was to improve the performance, set all the groundwork for stuff that was essential, and try and make sure that everything works as it should do, and everything is either equal or better to what it is currently with those new systems. And then feathers, platform predictions, all of those sorts of stuff are things that we're adding soon. So we've actually placed them in game, but they're just going to be hidden because they don't work yet. But it shouldn't be too much of a task to do that, because we know where you're going before you get to the signal.
The next question I have is about the access gates. Will they actually get a function in the new update?
So I'm assuming this is referring to the new ticket barriers that
Yes.
that people have seen in the one of the sneak peeks. Not in this update. We've made them in a way that we can try it, but not sure when or how yet. But we've made them so these ones, unlike the old ones, can work, but no immediate plans to. It's not on the timeline, but it's something me and BanTech have discussed, and we hope to have a play with and see if we can get to it. But again, that's another example similar to level crossings. Yes, we can physically do it. It's just it doesn't really add anything to the gameplay other than it's nice to see. So it's not high on the priorities list, but it's something we'd like to do.
Thank you. We are almost done, as we are actually our time is up, but I have the final questions. For now, the first one is another opinion-based one, but actually one, I like to ask you both. And this is also maybe one for the development team, so BanTech can tell a little bit more about that. Are you guys proud of what you have reached so far and what you are going to reach in the near or maybe even the long future with SCR?
Definitely on my side, I'm pretty proud of kind of what we've managed to achieve. When you look back, like there's a lot of little incremental features that on their own are not very much, but when you add them all together, create obviously this network simulator that thousands of you enjoy and play all the time, which is absolutely crazy. Even just the amount of people we have listening now, which I think across all platforms is like over 1,000 people, it's kind of insane. So, there's enough stuff in there to entertain quite a lot of you, which is crazy. And just as we were testing stuff earlier today, I just kind of was going around appreciating all the stuff that was there in terms of all the off indicators and repeaters and all the different functionality and all the different roles and stuff. So I think over the years we've put in quite a lot of good stuff, and most things are getting upgrades and stuff to keep them nice and fresh. Obviously, you always wish you had more time to do a bit more stuff, but I'm very proud of what we've done so far, and hopefully we'll kind of be ramping up the development. Hopefully 1.8 is kind of the mark of the start of ramping it up, and we'll be bringing more people onto the dev team soon as well for various different roles, as well as all the new faces that you've seen pretty soon. We've got someone on the team who's dedicated to finding and kind of setting up sounds as well, which I know some people have asked about for this update. There's no change to the sounds in 1.8, but we've been doing lots of prep behind the scenes in terms of the logic of sounds and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on from the people who do the Discord, the people who do the web development, and the people who do the stuff in game, and obviously our branding guy Joe. So I think I can be pretty proud of all the dev team and what we've achieved and kind of what we've got planned for the future. I think a lot of stuff that we do is kind of laying groundwork for the future as well that you might not see now, but maybe in a couple updates time we'll launch something that's like totally crazy that you absolutely love. Well, we're kind of doing the groundwork for that now, like several updates in the past, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm proud of that I can't necessarily show you other than just opening code. But yeah, there's lots of really good stuff. I'm pretty proud.
And I can't really add much more to that other than some of the stuff that we've managed to come out with, and particularly the quality of trains. I think, as BanTech said, we have a great development team now that you've seen some of the trains they've been working on. We've seen some more. Some of you have been asking about, or how many trains are going to be in the update. Well, we don't even know just yet, but just to give you context of how hard our developers are working behind the scenes, we have about 10 to 15 variants of trains currently sat in a waiting to be set up place. Now, that doesn't mean you're getting all of them in 1.8, I'm afraid, because each one takes quite a lot of time. There's still quite a lot of texturing to be done on some of them, adding the liveries. But the developers have been really speedily working through trains, and the quality of them is just stunning. Like, I really hope you'll be as impressed as we are with some of the stuff that's coming out. And equally of, the size of this community and just some of the, great stuff we get to see and some of the nice stories we get to hear. So really proud in general. But also this update, I think, is one of the best ones we've done. I think we've thrown out quite a lot of variety as well. So some of you will be really impressed with the stations. Some of you will be really impressed with the trains. Some of you will be really impressed with some of the new features. There's all sorts. There's hopefully something for everyone. And some of you will hopefully be impressed with all of it. But there's something that will hopefully appease everyone in this update. And as BanTech said, if it doesn't, the groundwork of something you might be really looking forward to is in there. You just can't see it. For example, feathered signals and things like that. We have done all the work to make them possible. We just need to actually then do the final bit about how they're going to show up and how they'll work for you. But we've been doing loads like that. So if what you're waiting for isn't in this update, it's really close, hopefully. So yeah, lots to be proud of from both of us, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be updating the roadmap as well, because quite a lot of things on there are either in this update or are kind of, as Charlie says, laying the groundwork for it. So there's a lot of change on the roadmap as well, which is always good to see. And yeah, I basically took a break to move house and came back to like 15 trains waiting for me, which is great.
Thank you both. Even I can say that after I am here as a community director for quite some time now, and although I am really busy behind the scenes, I'm really happy to see everyone here, and I hope to get to meet all of you and get to know all of you a bit better soon. So that will all be in the near future, and some more of me. So don't be afraid of that. But thank you, both of you, and thank you to the whole community for existing and making SCR such a wonderful game. It's time to end this Q&A, but of course I do have to ask one final question to you both, because everyone asks it, of course, and yeah, we do want to know, of course, is there anything, any station that will be upgraded, any sneak peek you guys can share with us for listening to this Q&A and thanking us and showing us for the next update?
Well, since you asked so very nicely, and thank you very much to the 600 to 700 of you that joined just the stage alone, as we finish off, take a look at the Sneak Peeks channel, and we'll give you a little bonus. No prizes based on the scenery in the background for guessing which developer helped make this station. For anyone who knows
I think
him,
I know what this is.
you'll know exactly what that means. As much as most of the work done on the station building itself here was myself, the scenery all here was done by one of our development team, who you may all remember from a few
Notorious.
Yes, and if you remember him from his infamous quotes, you will probably not be surprised to work out who it is when you see the sneak peek. So as we finish off, once this closes, head over to Sneak Peeks, as I will be posting any moment a little surprise as a thank you for you all joining. But yeah, that's it from all of us, particularly from me. Thank you everyone for joining. I know that 1.8 has probably been the longest gap in a while in like 1.x updates. So I know that you've all been very patiently waiting. The reason it's been so long is because there's so much. You know, it really is simple as it's not a case of, oh, well, we've just been slacking. You know, there's been a ridiculous amount. You know, as BanTech said, he's moved house in between. We've completely redone some things in this game in terms of the way signaling works. We've done over so many stations with new upgrades, trains. There's just, let's just say it's going to take BanTech almost as long as it's done to do this update to write the change log, because there is a ridiculous amount to come. So thank you very much for being so patient. Hopefully this has helped hype you up a bit more for the update. As we say, we can't give you a time for when it's going to be released because, contrary to common belief, we don't know. We don't sit on an update for a few weeks because we feel like it. We give you an update as soon as it's ready, because you all know that if we release something early and we haven't tested it properly, it breaks, and then you all get angry, as do we, and we get disappointed because we don't want you to be focusing on the breaks. We want you to be focused on what's in there. So we don't just sit on an update, I promise you. We literally release it to you within usually a few hours of us finishing the bits we've done on it. We do all of what we've done. We do some quick testing, try and test it as thoroughly as we can. For this one, we've we've pretty much completely redone the signaling and platform system, which means we've had to test every single route through every single station. So it's taken quite a while just to do testing for one feature. So there's a lot of work that goes in, but I know it feels like we just hold these updates back, but I promise you, the second this is finished, we'll be getting all the managers on doing some quick testing, and then you will get it shortly after we do. So please don't ever think that we hold these back intentionally. We don't have a release date in mind that we wait until. We release it when it's ready. If it gets finished next week, it gets released next week. If it gets finished in 3 weeks, it gets released in 3 weeks. We don't have an idea. We try and release it at a time that works for as many people as we can, but we just release when we're ready. So it's not far away, but there is some final stuff still to do that we are just working through as we speak. So once we come off this, we're going straight back to do some more work on it. But we hope you'll be as impressed with this as we all are. The managers, particularly, who've been helping with testing, have passed on, that they've been impressed by it. So we really hope that you are as well. So is there anything you wanted to add, BanTech, before we finish off?
No, I think you covered pretty much everything. Like you say, we're just mostly testing things now and just fixing bugs. Like a lot of the work, particularly on my side for big features, is done. But when you go around and touch every single signal junction and platform, there's like stuff that just breaks often. There's like 1,000 signals and not too many fewer junctions either. And kind of we need to redo the signaling control boards to kind of reflect the changes and to also work with the new system. So there's just quite a lot of kind of little bits and pieces like that take us time. But as Charlie says, we never hold stuff back. Like you know from the past, we sometimes publish things at like 11 o'clock at night and stuff. Obviously not ideal, but we have done in the past where we've been testing all day, finally finished, and give you the update. So yeah, as soon as it's done, you'll have it. But thank you very much for coming along to the Q&A and asking us all your questions, giving us a chance to chat about some of the cool stuff that we've been doing, and hopefully you'll all see it and play it soon.
Thank you, everyone. That will be the end of the Q&A. Remember, trains are handy. Cheers, everyone, and have a beautiful day, night, evening, or wherever you live.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.